While the eternal light is no longer a direct threat to life on Northrend and the disciples of the Knights Blessed, Runar and his flock still continue their way of life in the aftermath of the events of Shadowbringers, continuing their rituals and traditions in the hidden-away sanctuary of Slitherburh, which they call home. And we know that their rituals and religious way of life have continued unchanged. In the post-patch content cycle of Endwalker, we actually travel back to Slitherburh and watch as Zero partakes in their traditions, drawing parallels to her own struggle back in the Void, where she wishes for etheric balance, much like the people of the Knights Blessed sought to bring darkness to the First and restore balance. The restoration of etheric balance is a major part of the narrative in Shadowbringers, and during our time with the Knights Blessed, their de facto leader, Runar, grows a very strong bond to the warriors of darkness, and especially to Y'shtola, who per their traditions cannot use her real name without being under the cover of darkness, as she takes the moniker of Master Matoya. Runar shows his appreciation for the warriors, and of course Y'shtola, throughout their time in the First, and repeatedly offers to cook us his special stew and even insist we try it. So in today's episode of Eating Eorzea, we're going to transcend the physical limits of Eorzea itself and travel to the First and the Rak'tika Greatwoods to surprise Runar with a stew of our own. While there's no direct in-game recipe that references Runar's stew, a stew raining from Northrend does in fact exist, and it's the exquisite beef stew, which we will base our interpretation on today. The recipe calls for ingredients primarily found in the First, and it's a nice and hearty meal, a perfect fit for the followers of darkness. And with all our freshly gathered components in hand, let's get to cooking a stew that would make even Runar impressed. Let's get right into it. And for the cooking segment of the show, we've got all the ingredients laid out right away. We got flour, which we need for later. We've got a bunch of vegetables. Here we have onion, garlic, potatoes, leek, we got celery, and we've got carrots. Nice cut of meat here. This is a rump steak. You just want something without too much fat. Anything really works. We've got beef broth, tomato puree, fresh thyme, salt, pepper, got paprika, and we've got cumin. And that's all we're going to be using for today. Okay, so for starters, let's take our meat. Just 2 steaks here, and we're going to cut them into cubes. Very simple. Nice chunks of meat, whatever works for your preferred size in a stew. I'm just gonna go with nice and beefy cuts. A lot of the supermarkets really will sell this pre-diced. I was looking for some pre-diced, but honestly I couldn't find any, so we do it ourselves. Now, all this now, take this and toss it into a bowl, like so. In the bowl, you go in with the flour, gently coat it all. Immediately afterwards, hit it with a generous amount of pepper, and also a good amount of salt. Now take that meat and just toss it. Make sure everything is nice and coated on every side. So it looks like this, nice and coated. Then you just put that to the side. The next step we're going to do is we're going to start preparing the veg. Some of this has to be peeled, some of this has to be just chopped finely. We're going to start with the carrots. Got a little bit of a potato peeler here, but it works for everything.
Then we just give it some clean shavings here so we can use it later. Then off with the bottoms and the tops. That was really loud. This. Now let's prepare the onions. There we go. On to the garlic. And with the leek, not really much you can do to prep it, just make sure it's nice and rinsed. There's often quite a lot of dirt, especially in here under the leaf. You can see there's some right there. Make sure they're nice and clean before you proceed. And here comes the fun part, it's time to chop everything. Again, garlic's already smashed, so you don't have to do all that much. Just have to cut into it, nice and fine pieces here. And the onions. And onto the carrots. You want nice sized carrots because you need them to be roughly the same size as the potato for later. So nice big chunks like this. Big nice size, exactly what you want. I drop one on the floor, it's all good. Next up is the celery. Let's take off the not so pretty parts at the bottom and the top. And then just make some decently sized pieces. Kind of similar to the onion here. This is just going to be diced up and put into the dish. Just cut it down the middle like this. It's also a nice way to check if it's clean all the way through everywhere. Mine looks fine. You can see they're like potted up into segments, kind of like onions are. Makes it nice and easy to handle. Now the leek is done, we can add it to the rest of the vegetables. And that's most of the prep work done. Actually, it's all of the prep work done except for the potatoes. So we can actually start getting everything on the heat now. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get out a big pot. I picked this one. You go in with some olive oil or other vegetable oil, whatever you have. Give it a good nice, a nice coating, I should say, on the bottom of the pan. And then we can go on in with the meat that we coated. Once this oil gets nice and hot, we're gonna toss all that meat in there and we're gonna give it a nice little burn off, a little coating. It's gonna leave some residue flour in the bottom of the pan, which is gonna become kind of, it's called a roux, which is gonna thicken the sauce or the stew later on. But for now, all we care about is giving this meat some nice color. We'll be back when the oil is hot. All right, now we've got some nice hot oil in with the meat. Kind of see there's already a roux building up in the pan. That is normal, that's what we want. I just added a little bit more of the oil to the pan because the flour will absorb a lot of liquid, including the oil. Now that you've gotten to this point, you can see this piece of meat here. It's kind of having some, there's a dot hair there. This piece of meat kind of has these like burnt bits here. This is exactly what you want. When you get to this point in time, you take the meat off and put it in a container somewhere. You need it for later, but you don't need it right now. So this is the bowl I stored everything in it earlier. In it goes. Keep the pan nice and hot. Add some more fresh oil to there. The pan is already really warm, obviously, like I said, so the oil is going to heat up instantly. Then you go in with all the vegetables you prepared earlier, directly into the pot. It's going to make a very loud and very satisfying sizzle. So what we're doing here is to just keep all that onion and all the other vegetables in there, sweat them down, get them nice like you normally would. Make sure they're like a little bit translucent, and for the carrots, this is just to begin the cooking process because the carrots are quite bigger than everything else. You can put the carrots in a bit later if you want. A lot of people would go just just onions, including the leek at first, and just sweat them down. I like to put everything in at the same time. The result is pretty much the same. There's not much difference. Now once the leek and everything else in here, the celery, the onion, once it started to lose its color a little bit and cook down, we go in with tomato paste. Nice and generous amount. You can use the entire can if you have a can. And then you just want to incorporate the tomato paste in with everything else. Once you're looking like this, you want to go back in with the meat. You want to reintroduce it. So that's what we're going to do here. Toss it around, make sure the meat gets a nice coating of that tomato paste as well. And then once that's done, now we hit it with the broth. This here is a nice beef broth. You just want to fill all of the broth in. So it just about covers all the protein and all the vegetable in here. You can see it's nice and soupy right now. Want to keep it like this until it starts to come up to a simmering boil. Like a fairly hot boil. Once that's done, you want to turn down the heat. Reduce it into a simmer, lid it, and then come back like about 2 hours later. Now that the stew is starting to boil, we'll go in at a fresh thyme here. You can peel it from the top like this. I don't know how, like this. You can just pull back, then all the leaves come off, and you can just add that directly into the stew. With the thyme added, it's time to add all the spices. This is my paprika, my cumin from earlier. And we're gonna add a little bit extra than what I had on the plate, just because, yeah, exaggerations are often better. Just make sure you taste as you go. Add in a bit of salt, and of course, some pepper. Stir everything together. Get the flavor out. You can see it's boiling quite aggressively now. This here is your cue to turn down the heat to a medium to low heat. Get it simmering. Once it simmers, you want to put a lid on top. Now that we're not boiling so aggressively, it's time to put the lid on. Leave this for about 2 hours. Occasionally go check on it, make sure it doesn't burn. But it kind of just takes care of itself when it's lidded like this. While we wait, again, about 2 hours, we can get the potatoes ready. They just need to be peeled and cut into chunks. And here we are again, back over at the cutting board. You want to just peel these potatoes and cut them into nice sized chunks. All right, and then nice, decent sized chunks. This has to be, they have to be boiling for about 20 minutes, right? When you put them in. So nothing too ridiculously large, but give them a nice size. Kind of like we talked about earlier with the carrots. I'm gonna put these potatoes away, and once we come back, we'll be ready to finish up the stew. Okay, welcome back. It has now been 2 hours of the stew simmering away here. Let's go on ahead and take a look. See, it's reduced. The sauce, or the stew broth base, is fairly thick now. It's still pretty runny. It's not like, you know, we're gonna have to add some starchiness to this, some cornstarch at the end, probably. But this is still more or less what you want to see. All right, pretty good. Now the last stage is to simply add our potatoes. So we're gonna go ahead and do that and give them anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes more. It kind of sort of depends on how big the potatoes are, but for the size that we demonstrated earlier, I'd say about 20 minutes. All right, in they go. Now go on ahead and incorporate them so they get nice and covered by everything. If you can hear that in my background, my dog has decided to join me in the kitchen because I forgot to close the door. But that is okay. Now we bring it up to a boil again. And then once we're boiling, we're going to turn it all the way down to low heat again. And then cover it with a lid. Alrighty, right. Now that we're back to a boil, it's not a rolling boil, but we are boiling away. This is enough to let us take our spoon here and just give it a little stir to make sure nothing is stuck at the bottom of the pan. Just like this. Then we're gonna reduce the heat. Now, before we cover it, this is as you can see on the spoon here, I've been tasting it a little bit as I go to add more or less stuff. This is basically the last chance you have at taking a little taste of the stew, which you should be doing, and see if you need anything, salt, pepper, whatever you want, maybe more paprika, maybe something that you know, different entirely. So let me take a little taste here and see if we miss anything. Because I've been taste testing this in the last 2 hours as I've been off camera, I know this doesn't really need anything, but having that taste again to confirm that fact is a good idea. So give it another quick stir here. As you can see, it bubbles pretty aggressively when I stir. That's because the bottom part, all the onions and all that stuff, can get stuck and burn, which is why it's important to keep it in motion, right? Keep it in motion so that it doesn't burn. Okay. Now, put the lid back on, and in about 15 to 20 minutes, we should be done. Before I cut away to the final product, there's a few things I need to quickly go over with this. This is a stew. You can eat the stew on its own, but you should probably get some kind of starch to go with it. So in my case, I haven't started it yet, and I won't be showing you, but I'm gonna cook some rice to eat this with. You can also just eat it with a nice loaf of bread, like a nice big loaf of sourdough or something like that. Or you can cook, if you have any more potatoes than the ones you put in here, you can cook a mashed potato or whatever. Something nice to eat with the stew is my recommendation, but like I said, the stew, especially after we thicken it a little bit with cornstarch at the very end, is perfectly fine to eat on its own. Also, you can see I'm using a plain old regular pot with a lid here. There's plenty of ways you can cook a stew. If you want to be like Runar, you can cook it over an open fire. If you're just at home, a pressure cooker will do a great job and probably do it faster than this. You can also use a Dutch oven. I have neither of those things in this kitchen, and even if I did, I would still just be using this because everybody at home will have a pot and a lid, right? And if you don't have a lid, you can use literally anything. You can use a frying pan. It has been a little over 15 minutes. And the stew is done once the potatoes are done. So the best way to check if the potatoes are done are just to simply take, this is a spoon, don't know how clearly you can see it in this video right now, but you take the fork and you just poke the potatoes. If they fall apart like that, they're done. So this stew is done. Now, as you can see, it could be a little thicker. That was what we expected. So what we have to do is we have to make a little mixture of water and cornstarch. So what I have here is just a cup of cornstarch and some water. Gonna add a bit of water and then we're just gonna mix it into a slurry. Then, once you have your slurry, you just go on ahead and you add a bit of it at a time into the stew, give it a stir. So the way that cornstarch works is that it starts to thicken pretty much any liquid it comes into contact with, but that contact needs to be hot before it's activated. So because this is still simmering, it's hot enough for the effect to happen. And as you can see, even now, we're already looking nice and, you know, thick, right? Like, it's not coming off the spoon nearly as easily. I'm just gonna add just a teeny bit more, like that should be good. And then you want to make sure you let it stay on the heat for just a little bit longer. If you don't let it cook just a little bit after adding the cornstarch, you're gonna get this kind of weird grainy texture. You stir it, and it'll be done in we're talking like minutes here. You don't have to supervise it for a long time. Just take care of it, make sure it doesn't burn. Okay, now that the stew has been heated up, again, should be good. This is the last time you do a little taste test before you eat, and this is just to make sure that it's not grainy. It's just to make sure that the starch has been correctly dissolved into the stew. Yep, no taste of, no like funky grainy taste, means you're done. Turn off the stove, take the stew off the heat, and let's start plating. And now that we have it all out on a plate, I think it's time to give it a taste. We've gotta see if we can incorporate everything in here. I'm gonna crack off a little bit of the potato, a little bit of meat, and let's get some carrot on here too. Make sure it's all nice and combined here. And let's see how it tastes. Alright, it tastes pretty much exactly as you would expect. The nice brothy sauce base is running through there with that nice saltiness. You have, in this case, I added a lot of leek. I added celery. Those turn kind of sweet almost, same as the carrots, which it gives you a nice like sweet, textureful flavor from the veggies. You have the saltiness from the broth or whatever, and you've got that nice rich meat. And because we ended up browning the meat, sauteing it in a pan before we added everything else, it kind of has a little bit of a sear. Not like a crunch, but like it has texture, like you can tell it's meat, right? It doesn't just like blend in with everything else. Overall, I think Runar would be very happy to be served this, especially if it was cooked over his favorite fire. Definitely enough to give a nice, powerful sustenance boost to everybody at the Night's Blessed. And I really hope you've enjoyed this.
And with that, we have a hearty, filling, and very flavorful beef stew to surprise Runar with. The signature trademark of a good stew is the balance between the meaty protein elements and the sweeter vegetables, all in that savory stew base, all in perfect balance. Much like the etheric balance that the Night's Blessed seek to restore. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I had a bit more of a roleplay approach to this video compared to the last one, so please do let me know if that's a good way to go in the comments. And if you have any suggestions or recommendations for new recipes to try, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know. Subscribe for more.